Our focus really is about seeds and the magic that starting a seed is and the progress. It's kind of like a fantasy. You're like planting this little tiny thing and all of a sudden this beautiful flower is there, whether it's 60 days or 120 days later, but it's worth the wait.
Welcome back to the Beet podcast. I'm your host today, Jacques, and today we have a special guest on who is now running their own podcast on the Botanical Interest side. So Nicole Pitt from Flower Hill Farm, New York, welcome onto the podcast. And why don't you introduce yourself, where you're growing, what your background is, what kind of stuff you like growing, because based on your name, Flower Hill Farm, I think you have a preference.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Gosh, where do I start? So yes, I'm growing in upstate New York. I was born and bred a veggie grower, and I happened to, I first started with carrots and, tomatoes, squash, all the good stuff. But then as I got older and after I had kids, I started adding some flowers to the veggie gardens. And before I knew it, I was running a full-fledged flower farm in upstate New York. I live in a tiny town called Boonville, quite literally the boonies, but we love it here. And it is zone 4B, so it can be tricky.
Okay.
The USDA is trying to tell us that we're a zone 5, but I'm going to wait a few years because we're still getting down into like -22, -24 in the wintertime. So it's kind of borderline. But I have 20 acres on my property, but I don't farm the entire thing. That would be crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Maybe
acreage.
someday. But I do a couple acres of cut flowers. I went really heavy establishing perennials a few years ago, probably 6 years ago. Yeah, we did. I think I have like 1,100 peonies, a few hundred hydrangeas, a few hundred lilacs, ilex, all the beautiful perennials for cut flowers. And then I have about probably 15 rows of annuals. Then the rows are about 100 feet long. And those are where I grow things like zinnias and the dahlias and things that people are more familiar with when it comes to flower farming. And of course, I couldn't neglect my veggies, Jacques. So
Okay,
we
you
had
still have, I was about to say, I
I
mean,
know.
come on.
But we live in deer country. So I ended up having to put up a big, tall deer fence, and we fenced in about 1/5 of an acre, and I've been filling it with birdies beds over the past few years. Literally, I think I have 45 now of the different size beds, and
Wow.
I just grow all the veggies. Lots of tomatoes. I just established an asparagus bed in there. Lots of things. I'm really excited. But along the way, I somehow was driving past my local greenhouse or garden center, small town. And I just was driving by the garden center and it kind of looked like it was falling down. And it was operational, but nobody was growing here. So the previous owners, the most recent owners were just buying stuff in and reselling. So they didn't really, maintain the property much.
They weren't producing things.
Yeah, they didn't have to grow in it. So there were holes in the walls, et cetera, et cetera. So they were bringing in finished product and reselling it. And I reached out to him because I happen to know it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. And I said, if you're ever thinking about selling, let me know. And quite literally 4 hours later, we had a deal. So I bought the local garden center, and that was 2022. And now we are in the process of renovating it. So I grow hanging baskets, vegetables, the 6-packs, 4-packs, single vegetables for my community to grow their own gardens. And I also still do the cut flower farm.
Yeah, you're like, I have 20 acres, I have a whole 1/5 of an acre in vegetables, so like, why don't I also get a nursery and just get a little busier?
I I kind of thought of it. I was very, very ill-informed going into it because I thought of the garden center as my retirement project. I thought, okay, once my body, because I'm getting into my mid-40s, once my body starts to give out and I'm like not able to full-fledged flower farm, I'll just grow hanging baskets. Well, this nursery is just as physical as the flower farm. I don't know what I was thinking, but it's physical in a different way. I'm not on my hands and knees planting dahlia tubers, but it is very time consuming and it is quite difficult to handle it all, but I'm learning and I'm adding members to my team and we do document everything. I've had my YouTube channel for 6 years and then Obviously we share everything on Facebook and Instagram too. And I started that for my community to see what I was doing. And it kind of turned into, a whole community around the world of just people who love growing.
That's amazing. Like what an interesting arc to go from vegetables like to grow at home and just have like some delicious fresh veggies to full flower farm to then another full vegetable garden and then to have a nursery space. Like that's in some ways like it sounds a little bit overwhelming but also like very exciting because it means that you always have something to do. I'm sure you always have
Oh
something to work
gosh.
on, a project to pick up or anything like that.
Well, and that fits my personality too, is because I tend to get bored with something quickly. So if I have so many things to do, I'll never be bored now. It really works.
Yeah, you can't be. You're gonna have infinite amount of things to work on. Wow. So you bought the Nursery 22 and you've been refreshing it. I'm guessing you're already selling stuff out of it.
Oh yeah, we were selling within a month.
Oh wow.
We were because I bought it and then mum season. Mums are big here in upstate New York for fall. The potted porch mums.
Right.
I started growing them at my house before we closed. So I knew, okay, I'm
Oh,
closing on this nursery. I'm going to
nice.
start growing the mums. So I grew about 700 mums before I even owned the nursery. So I was able to just walk right in, bring them in and say, "Hey, we have mums. We're open." So it's been challenging. The original structure was built in 1894. So it is historical, and I want to maintain the integrity of the history of the history of the building, but I also need it to grow flowers when it's 20 degrees out.
It needs to be functional too.
Yes. So it's been kind of a process of rebuilding it, but still kind of keeping the personality that it has. I did put a brand new structure up, a 30 by 100 here. So we have about 7,500 square feet of greenhouse grow space here at the shop, which is awesome. But in upstate New York, you have to keep those heated. I start my hanging baskets the last week of February. So from February until May, the heat is on. So if people are wondering why hanging baskets can be expensive, it costs me multiple thousands of dollars a month just to run the heat. It's insane. But we're learning more every year. And, if it's a sunny month, this past March was beautiful. We didn't have to use the heat as much, only at night, because as soon as that sunshine hits the greenhouse, it warms up and it's really beautiful. But we do have a ton more work to do to the property. My village was awarded a grant for small businesses, and a chunk of that was awarded to us. So we are renovating, putting in a brand new shop, and all these things, little at a time. I say baby steps, but I feel like they're literally long jumps. We're
Yeah.
long jumping.
Yeah, they're like giant baby steps. That's a lot of work there. Yeah, it's interesting to think about like the greenhouse growing space. I think a lot of people forget that it is ultimately just a see-through house. So if it's like 30 degrees outside at night, then it's pretty much 30 degrees inside the greenhouse at night
It
too.
is. It is. It's a
So
plastic roof.
it doesn't actually make it magically warm without the sun. So yeah, that's been a really interesting one. But then so for this time period, basically from now, I don't know when you stopped, probably not too long ago. Earlier when we were saying hi, I was mentioning, oh yeah, I still have my Mexican sunflower out there, the Tithonia, and then you're like, oh cool, we're covered in snow. So
Yes.
did you just get your first snow?
We did. We just got a couple inches, and it's on the way out, but more is coming. It never ends.
Once it starts, yeah, I don't know that one. It's interesting to think about. So basically, this time period though, you're kind of not growing anything though, right? Like in terms of production, it's kind of like a chill time period.
Yeah, this is the time I would say I will be starting seeds within a month.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
within a month. Because if you think about eucalyptus, that has to be started like 10, 12 weeks ahead of time for me because I'm selling them in six packs and stuff. So eucalyptus, lysianthus, those are things that I start by the end of the year. I also just planted out a whole bunch of cool flowers in my hoop house because I do have a covered space that's unheated at the farm. So we just put out campanula, nigella, bachelor buttons, things that are cold hardy in my climate for spring blooms. So those were just planted. I think I literally just finished planting them the first week in November.
Oh.
And then I do have ranunculus and anemones that are sprouting in my basement right now. And they'll go out in the hoop house probably this weekend. I'm only doing a small number of them because they are not hardy in my zone, but I give them a good blanket of frost cloth.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
so I give them 3 layers.
Oh, I was gonna ask, like, if you're putting stuff out there, it has to either survive on the passive, just whatever's out there, or I guess in this case, with the ranunculus, you're covering it up with the frost fabric, multiple layers.
Yeah, yeah, I have a 500-foot roll of frost cloth, and my hoop house is 100 feet long. So I just keep going.
Gotcha.
I'll just layer a
Back and
few,
forth,
yeah.
back and forth.
And I usually keep it on all winter long. If there's an incredibly warm day or an incredibly sunny day, I'll go in there and peel it back a little bit, but it's often more work to peel it back than it is the damage that will be caused. But yeah, because it's 25 degrees out, but it's sunny, so it's 70 in the hoop house.
Yeah. Oh man, like you have a lot of things going on. It's very dynamic. The weather is
It's
changing.
overwhelming.
It's like every month is like a whole new challenge. That is
So
a
why don't we
whole
start a
different way of.
podcast?
Yeah, yeah. Why not another thing? Well, right now maybe is a good time to do a couple of them before you get too deep into the seeding season. But soon you'll be drowning in seeds, thousands and thousands of plugs getting filled. But what is the podcast actually? Now that you bring it up, like, who are you talking to? What's the story? I know it's something that I can't talk much about, which is a lot of different varieties of flowers. I'm always shocked by the depth of our seed catalog on Botanical Interest when it comes to flowers. There's a lot of things that even in my years of gardening now, I still haven't even heard of all of them, or I wouldn't even know where to put them.
There are so many exciting flowers, which is why I love this industry, is because I never get bored. If I get bored with the zinnia, there's a new one coming around the corner. If I get bored with a dahlia, there's a new variety around the corner.
I have like 200 tomato seeds.
Yes, exactly. Same thing with tomatoes. So the podcast, it's called In the Garden with Flower Hill Farm, and it is sponsored by Botanical Interests. So we are heavily seed focused, but really what we're focused on is storytelling in the garden. And we're talking to other growers. We're talking to people that everyone's going to know, like Jess from Roots and Refuge. We're talking to people like my best friend Lila. Like, so we're running the gambit with it. It's people that you know, and then people that are friends of mine that we just talk flowers all the time. So our conversation is just going to be but crazy and go all different directions. And I have one, two, three. Kara. Kara is a flower farmer from Tennessee. She's our second guest on the podcast. And then we have some episodes that we have yet to record. It's just launching. So we have vegetables, flowers, garlic, birdie beds. We're talking everything. Raised bed gardening. We're talking,
It's exciting.
yeah, anything and everything that has to do with growing. But our focus really is about seeds and the magic that starting a seed is, and the progress and it's kind of like a fantasy. You're like planting this little tiny thing, and all of a sudden this beautiful flower is there, whether it's 60 days or 120 days later. But it's worth the wait. And so those are the stories that we're going to be talking about. We're also going to be doing some like fun facts and history about where the seeds originated, like a tomato seed. The first episode, I'm going to tell you, it's about tomatoes, because
Okay.
tomatoes it's my first love in the garden. I grew up in my
Same.
grandparents' garden. Yeah. So we were in the backyard at my grandparents' house. My grandfather was slicing tomatoes. We were eating them raw with salt and pepper, a little bit of olive oil, balsamic, whatever. I'm a huge Italian family, so tomatoes are important to me. So we deep dive into the history of the San Marzano in the first episode of the podcast. So it's a lot of stuff like that. Maybe some stories that you haven't heard of, maybe some you've heard before, but we're just going to be talking everything garden.
That's amazing. It actually sounds like a really fun podcast.
I hope so.
I'm very excited to listen to the tomato one. Seed starting is an incredible thing. Every time I do it, it's like sometimes it can feel like a chore, but the only thing that feels about a chore about it to me is organizing all of my seeds and then writing every single label and then putting it in the tray. Everything after that is amazing.
Yes.
It's just like, it's truly incredible. You're right. Like that tiny little seed, you put it in the soil, it comes up as a seedling, and then now you're harvesting 100 pounds of tomatoes off this tiny little seed. It's like, what else does that? Every time it is like a little bit of magic. And I think it's hard to get sick of that process because of just how cool it is.
No, it's rinse and repeat. You want to do it all over again. I wish we had 2 growing seasons, because one's just never enough.
That is a challenge that you have, more so than
I
me.
do.
I have like a weird infinite amount of slices of growing seasons that can also be a challenge because it's like, what do I do right now? It's November, it's like sunny outside. I have it mostly planted, but then it's like February could get really hot really fast, and then all of my brassicas bolt, and then I'm sad because I can't grow anymore. So it's like a really weird, like I am growing my spring garden over the winter
Yeah,
period, and then I'm
that's
growing like my summer garden during the normal time, I guess. But it is a little bit weird.
that is wild to me. It's wild that you're planting in February because we still have, well, let's just put it this way. We had 20 feet of snow last year over the winter. So in February, if I
Yeah,
can see the ground, it's a miracle. But we don't
yeah.
usually see the ground in February. We usually, so my last frost date is usually around Memorial Day. But we've had
Wow,
frost on June 2nd before.
that's
So,
crazy.
and then it could be mid-September for the first. So I think we had a frost, I had a frost on September 6th this year. It wasn't a killing frost, but it was a damaging frost. Like my zinnias got all brown, but my tomatoes were okay. So it was a light frost. But we have, I think my maybe 110, 120 day window is my season. So, but we cherish those 120 days.
Yes, I know. There's like a difference there, like where the one thing I really appreciate, I mean, there's a couple things that you can appreciate, but one thing I do really appreciate is knowing that I have many off ramps. So if I like lose all my seedlings, it's okay. Like I could just start a new round. I could plant them. The season is really quite long here. But then you don't get any of like that time to really reflect on the garden and like how you're going to do it differently. It doesn't feel like the same amount of challenge in the way where I have to get everything right on the first try. And so it can make it almost a little bit more boring. It's such a weird thing to complain about. It's not even a complaint. But when you're talking about like that challenge and like what keeps it going, like knowing that you have such a tight window and that you're also trying to produce flowers for the market to sell to people, like that's a whole different level of stakes. Like you're really actually have to be planning in a real coordinated way.
Yeah, if I don't, I have a window of probably 2 weeks for each variety. And I did kind of have it organized where I would have all of the seeds that I needed to start in week 6 in a Ziploc bag, or all of the seeds I
Oh,
needed to start
wow.
in week 8 in a bag. That way I'd be like, okay, it's the 8th week. Let me get all the seeds I need to start this week. And that really helped because otherwise you're just shuffling and then, 2 weeks go by and you go, oh my gosh, I forgot to start my status. I don't have time now because it won't bloom before my season's over with. So organizing it that way really helped kind of make it better. I also have a spreadsheet. Of
Probably
course,
have
we
a
all
couple
have
spreadsheets. A couple spreadsheets.
yes. Yeah, because it can get overwhelming.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I am curious about. I have a few different questions on this line, but the first one I'm curious about is what is like a flower that you are growing that you shouldn't be able to grow
Hmm.
based on where you live? Like that you feel like it's like a fun challenge every year to like make sure you get it right, and it's something you can't pull off in Zone 4B, but you like to do it anyway.
I was able to overwinter ranunculus last year, and that is, you're not supposed to be able to do that unless you're in zone 6 or 7.
Okay, that's quite a
So I
push.
am a couple zones, colder than that, but I pre-sprouted it, didn't let it get too leafy, so there wasn't a lot to die off.
Right.
And so I didn't let it, I just had it sprout, soaked it for a few hours, let it sprout, put it in the ground, and then put that blanket of frost cloth over it. And that crop that I planted over winter bloomed about 3 weeks before the crop that I planted in March. So it was worth it, but it's also risky. I didn't get down to -25 that winter. We only got down to -14. So because there were a few degrees on my side, so who knows? I'm risking it. Every time I do that, I am risking losing a crop. And ranunculus corms are not cheap. It's not like a
Yeah, I was
pack
gonna
of seeds.
say.
They're more
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah. Eucalyptus is tough in our climate, and I have tried to overwinter that and I have failed. But I'm probably going to try again. Only because eucalyptus it's magical. If you add like the silver dollar into a bouquet and the aroma of it and the texture, and it has that color that it's almost like a Dusty Miller kind of that faded greeny white shimmery. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, like there's some depth in it.
Yeah, it's really pretty in a bouquet, and that's worth trying again and again and again. But most of the other flowers I can do in the window. Not all of them, but there are a couple like African daisies. I feel like those were late. I might have planted them late though. So don't quote me on that one. I might have not gotten that in the ground until July because sometimes that happens running the nursery. The flower farm might not get planted in time because the busy season is the exact same time.
Oh yeah, you have a lot of different pots on the stove.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to add a team member. So I don't have any employees either. So it's just me. I can't leave the shop and go to the farm, but I was able to hire team member Ashley. She was with me for about 30 hours a week this spring, and that was a huge help. Huge help in more than one way because um, I ended up being diagnosed with breast cancer this year, so it was crazy. I had to go to doctors and doctors and doctors. So thankfully, Ashley was able to hold down the fort so I could do that. If I didn't have a team member this year, I don't know what I would have done. Yeah, but I'm good now. I had surgery, and we're still in the process of recovery, but
Glad to hear that.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going to need more help next year, I think, because things are
I
growing at
mean,
such a rapid
yeah,
pace.
that's wild. There's so much to do. I can't even think about the spreadsheets you must have on just maintaining all these different plantings, essentially. Like what's going to the nursery versus what's going in the flower farm versus your vegetable garden that you still want to eat out of every year.
I know.
You're doing like at least three full-time jobs at a time.
I
So
I
that
think
makes a lot of
so.
sense.
Yeah. And then you add social media and all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, wow.
Yeah, but sometimes you
I
just
hope
have to keep running to keep things going, and stacking things on top of other things is sometimes the best way to do that. At least for some mental, some ways that people work,
it's
which I
probably
could.
a bad business decision, but I will let the flower farm go before I let my veggies go. I have to, sometimes I'll be like, nope, I'm planting my vegetables now. I'll get the zinnias in when they get in. But the vegetables are, I do a lot of processing and preserving for my family. So I want to make sure that that goes in. It's not a necessity. I mean, there are farmers markets. I have friends who grow, but there is that sense of pride and completion when you grow your tomatoes and then you turn them into ketchup. I am addicted to it. I really am. I'm addicted to creating and growing and watching it evolve from the seed to the shelf. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, not only that, but it's also just like incredibly delicious. It's just so much
It's
better
so good.
than anything else that you could get. And one of my favorite things is making something as simple, like even just a homemade ketchup, and having like your guests try it, and they're like, "What? Where'd you buy this ketchup?" I was like, "Well, actually, it's from the garden."
Actually, my
That's
friend gave
a
me,
great feeling.
she made homemade barbecue sauce and she gave me a jar the other day, and it's the best barbecue sauce I've ever
Oh
tasted. I need
man,
her recipe. It was
yeah,
so good. Ugh.
absolutely, yeah. And then so that's interesting that with the Italian background, are you speaking of seeds? Are you growing any seeds like that your family's been growing for a long period of time? Like, is there some specific selections that you're making or anything like that?
Well, funny you should say that. I have Italian pole beans that my Uncle Anthony has been saving for years that he gives me. So he saves the seeds, and I grow my Uncle Anthony's Italian pole beans every year. And
That's awesome.
they're so prolific this year. They literally knocked over my trellis because I was only growing on one side of the trellis and it got so heavy. And then we had a windstorm whip through and the entire trellis collapsed because the pole beans were so heavy. Ah, they were delicious though. There's this one meal that we make where you cut, the pole beans are probably 8 inches and you cut them in thirds and then you add them to a frying pan with some fresh like marinara sauce, and then you add a handful of cheddar cheese and you just shimmy that up in the pan. That's really good. That's an Italian. I don't even know what it's called, but
Yeah, I've never
it's
had
real good.
that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's really good.
So these are like the regular pole beans that are more like cylindrical, not like the flat kind.
No, they're flat. They're a flat Italian pole
Oh,
bean.
oh,
Yeah.
those are really delicious. I love those. I've tried it, the Italian method where you use like this like multiple razor blade thing, and you pull them
Yes.
into like strips, and they saute and they taste so good. Like it's incredible how
I've never
delicious they can
tried
be.
that, but now I want to.
I kind of yeah, I didn't have like the fancy little box with a whole bunch of knives in it, so I just did it by hand and then cooked up a pan. But it was delicious. I'm
Oh,
also curious on like that same kind of thing of pushing like the zone on a flower. Is there something that you grow that you hate, but you just have to grow it because it's so good in the market? Like, is there a flower that you like secretly despise a little bit, or are you a lover of everything that you're growing?
well, put me on the
Yeah, I
spot.
know.
I don't hate it, but but I get annoyed, and this not even a flower, it's a filler. I get annoyed at it because
Oh, okay.
it's just too beautiful and you can't harvest it until the end of the season. So I walk by it 50 times thinking, I want to use you, I want to use you, but it's not ready yet. It's called Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus, and it's this beautiful burgundy. Oh gosh, it's not like the hibiscus, the flower. It's a hibiscus, it's not even green. I'll call it greenery, but it's burgundy and
Yeah.
it has these beautiful, almost like maple looking like leaves on it. And it is the most gorgeous filler to use in September bouquets. But you have to let it wait to get to a point where it's a little bit woody on the stems before you can cut it.
Mm.
And so I get annoyed at it because it looks so good. It's
You're
like the
like, oh,
color of a
it'd
nine
be
mark, like a
perfect.
dark nine mark. Yes. So
Oh.
anyway, there's that. And I get annoyed at my amaranth because the deer have been eating it. So as I'm planting it, I'm cursing it out because I don't think I'm gonna see it come to fruition. I'm going, I started all these seeds, I'm planting all these plants, I'm taking 4 hours to plant all these beautiful things, and the deer are probably gonna come munch them down, which is why I put up another fifth of an acre deer fence this past year because it's like the first few years. So I've been doing this is I think whatever year 7, year 8 that I've been doing this at scale. And it took the deer that long to find my flower patch. It wasn't really until 2 years ago that they started to come and and take some snacks. And the first time they did it, it didn't bother me. It was only a little bit. But then last year, they tore everything down. It was so depressing. I'd go out there and I'd have things almost blooming. And then the next day they'd be sheared off all the way down a 100-foot row. And marigolds, they're eating marigolds. Like, what are they doing? So that was a very depressing thing. So
Yeah,
I
because
told
it's
my
also
husband,
livelihood.
it's horrible. And I said, can I claim this on my taxes? Or taxes on my insurance. And I was like, I think I could, but also didn't want my rates to go up. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to count. It's just going to be a loss
Right.
and we're going to make some changes and be better next year. So this past year, even though I had surgery and stuff going on, my husband was able to put up another deer fence. And basically, we just put 4x4s in the ground all the way around, and we put 12-foot ones in. We put them 2 feet deep, so it's 10 foot up, and then we put the deer netting all the way around it, and that kept them out. That's the only thing that I can do is just ensure the safety of my crop by putting up deer fences. It's kind of a lot to have to do, but it's necessary where I live.
Yeah, and this isn't a deer fence podcast, but uh, it's been something that I've been very. I don't know why it's so interesting to me to think about like a deer fence, but every time I see things about it, I'm like, oh wow, like so many clever solutions. And I don't know if you've seen this. I'm just gonna float it to you in case it's helpful. But there's like this method where you don't have to build a tall fence, and you do like a double fence of like two very short lines, and sometimes even just having like a line of string that's short and then a second fence behind it. Apparently that can like entirely bamboozle their brains from
I've
like
seen that.
figuring out how
Like
to get
one that's
through.
2 feet and one that's 3 feet tall or something all the way
Something
around.
like that.
I
Like
think it like hits their
they get
knees or something and
confused.
scares
Yeah.
them.
And apparently that's like a really cheap way. I've heard that like even with just like a string, if there's like a second barrier, there's like some sort of like weird visual processing that they can't handle, and it like freaks them out. So anyway, that's I don't know enough to even share that information, but I'm sharing it anyway.
I read that if they can't see where they're going to land, they won't jump.
Oh, okay,
I
maybe
did
that's
read
part of
that.
it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
because
gotta defeat
they
these deer
can't.
somehow. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they ate about 500 of my lilies this year, and I think that's the only thing they
That's
got.
yeah, that's a rough one too, because that's a bulb plant, right? Like the world of flowers, I was telling you earlier, was like I've got my basics locked down. I know my marigolds, my calendula, cosmos, zinnias, alyssums, lobelias, nasturtiums. But then there's like this whole sub world of flowers that oftentimes I feel like I do not even try to grow them because by the time I think of them, I'm like already in the middle of the season. And some of these plants are like, oh, needs a very long growing period, or oh, it takes 12 weeks to germinate, or something crazy like that. And I've never gone that deep into those more specific niche flowers. And I think I don't even know how many like categories of like varieties, like if zinnia is a variety, Cosmo's another. There must be at least like 200 that we carry on just botanical interest alone,
Yeah, I think there's
let
probably
alone
more
like
than
what's out
that.
there.
I have
Like,
some stuff right here actually. Like even just in this shaker, there are at least 20 varieties just in the one shaker. Like
yeah,
it's crazy. And these are marketed as a pollinator mix, but I'm looking at every one of these and they all could be a cut flower on here too.
yes, yeah.
But I do also grow a wildflower field with just for pollinators that I'll occasionally cut a Cosmo out of. But there's nothing like a field of flowers. And that's the opposite of what you have when you have a flower farm because you're harvesting
Right.
before they bloom in most cases, except for zinnias and dahlias. Basically, everything else is going to be closed when we cut it or just opening. So there's a misconception when it comes to the beauty of a flower field because a lot of people are looking at they're watching people who are breeding varieties. So they're in full bloom
Uh,
all the time. Well, those people are collecting seeds. So those are seed farms. That's not really a flower farm. So they look much different.
yeah, if it was in full bloom, then you're like, that's
Then
you
you're
just
losing
lost all that
money.
money. Yeah.
Yes.
So like
And
if
there
you
are
see a
some
bunch of
exceptions.
blooms, yeah, then
Yes.
something's wrong, maybe.
Or it's right
Uh,
before harvest, which I've done some photo shoots. I've invited photographers to the farm on occasion, and I've done some of my own personal photo shoots, and I will do it right before I harvest because there is nothing like a field full of flowers. It's really beautiful. So,
and when you get into these like more, I can't even think of one of these names, but I think you mentioned like Lysianthus earlier. That's one that I've always heard about in the flower farming or flower growing world, but I've never like really seen it mentioned or kind of available for the home gardeners like in a vegetable garden. So I know what's the deal with that one? I know that it's like a really tricky one to start, right?
it is, yes. So Lysianthus typically requires 12 to 14 weeks before you can plant it out.
Of like cold weather. Is that what it needs?
No, like you know how the seed packet will say start 4 weeks before your last frost? Like
Oh, I
Lysianthus
see.
is like 12 weeks. So it's just a long time. It's almost like a hot pepper where you start it as early as you can in the season. So Lysianthus has to go through probably 3 months in your basement growing, but there are so many things that can go wrong, like botrytis. They could get this thing called rosetting. There's just a lot of things, like basically they want to die. So it's really hard to keep them alive. So I always start way more than I need, and but once you get them in the ground, they like to be cool at their base. So they're what is considered a cool flower, where I can plant them in my ground about 6 weeks before my last frost date.
Oh,
So
okay.
I could plant them earlier because they can handle down to about 20 degrees without a lot of damage. So you plant them early, and then by July, mostly August, you have the most beautiful flower. And it's one of the longest lasting in a bouquet after you cut it. you can get a solid 2 weeks, sometimes more, which is incredible for a cut flower. It's kind of like an heirloom mum. It's kind of that kind of vase life. It's so beautiful that people don't even think it's real. And they always say, "What is that?" Or they think it's a rose.
Yeah, I just looked that up.
I think they're prettier than roses and they last a lot longer. And I can't grow roses because the Japanese beetles eat them all. So,
Oh, yeah, that's another problem up there,
yeah.
huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do you not have Japanese beetles?
No, we have fig eater beetles, which are, at least that's what we call them
Fig eater
here.
beetles.
Yeah, they're like this big, and they like fly around like really loudly, and they just crash into things. And they usually will go after your fruit. So they'll like, as soon as like something's ripe, like figs, they will crawl up in there and devour it. But they don't wreck your entire garden in the same way the Japanese beetles seem to, where they just eat everything, like
It's so
all the
frustrating.
leaves.
So, like, I have probably a dozen peach and pear trees and some cherry trees. And that time of the year, when the Japanese beetles are out, I literally have to go to the base of the trees, 3 or 4 feet up, and just take it and just shake it
Oh my
because
god.
there are thousands of beetles devouring the leaves. So frustrating because it's hard enough to grow where we live. But it's okay.
Yeah, that's a
I
tricky one.
managed to beat them. They like the zinnias and my fruit trees and roses. Those are the three things that I find them on most often. Oddly enough, I don't really see them on any other flowers on my farm.
That's interesting. So then at least you could kind of plant around it. And similar to like the deer problem, like I'm guessing you could also plant like deer resistant. I know they're called resistant, but it's just like they don't like to eat it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're less
Uh,
likely.
less likely to eat it. Yeah.
I do try to do that. So the edge of my annuals, I always put zinnias because the deer they've never really seemed to be interested in zinnias. So that's a good thing. I also was using marigolds as a border flower. Turns out they like them, which I have never had them eat my marigolds before, but I had these beautiful lime marigolds, like the beautiful green ones that I had never grown before. It was my first time growing them. They ate the entire crop. But what else do they leave alone? Not much. They like to eat everything. They won't eat my status. So it's like I don't know if you're familiar with status, but it's a really nice dried flower that's really crunchy and dry. They don't touch the straw flowers.
I love straw flowers.
Oh, they're so pretty
Yeah,
and
one
they're
of my
so versatile
favorites.
because you can use them I could just picture.
Got some right
Oh,
here.
I see them behind you, but I'm literally picturing it like you can decorate your hat with them too. So
Yeah,
cute.
the color will hold.
Yeah, so they've never touched those, but they don't touch Rudbeckia either, which is a good thing because Rudbeckia is kind of one of those perennial crops that really just hit their stride when you're waiting for the summer crops to come in and the spring crops are already done. Those Rudbeckia like fit the gap perfectly. And they don't touch my snapdragons.
Like, oh, that's good. Yeah, snapdragons are another great one, which I've come to realize now with kind of the weirdness of being in San Diego and like the way the seasons work here. There are certain flowers that bloom best in cold weather, but can still technically grow at any time of the year for the most part. And this past year, I've been surprised by calendula. I did not realize actually loves cold weather, and growing it in the fall through winter into spring, which I can, I'm lucky that I'm able to do that here.
Wow.
By doing that, my calendula this year, like a single plant had like 500 blooms on it. It was like the most I've ever seen. It was like a ball of orange. That I always grow the zeolites as well because I love the way that the petals look underneath. But that one has done really, really well in the cool weather and really seems to appreciate it. Snapdragon is another one. And then a new flower to me, every year I try to grow at least one new thing. And Linaria was the one that I added, which I've really come to love. They look like tiny little snapdragons. Um, like they're
Yes,
much
I
shorter and they
ordered
have
some
these little hanging
seeds.
bells. Yeah.
I've
Um,
never grown them before, but I had intentions to, apparently, because I
yeah.
know I have the seed packet.
I don't know if that one does well as a cut flower, but it is a really cute, like little beautiful plant that you could shove in your garden. And that one also will bloom extra heavy when it's cold. So that's kind of been where I've been playing a little bit is maybe I pick up like a random new thing. Like there was a 22 new flower or 22 new varieties that we launched at Botanical Interest this year. And a lot of them were actually flowers, and some of them were also native to different regions in the United States. And there was a couple on there that I was very curious to grow this year. And they're so foreign to me that I can't even recall their names at this point. But it's just like the textures and the colors. For me, like one thing that I've always missed in my garden is having more of these like high texture contrasting plants or things that have a lot of movement. And one of them, I think it was like called like Guarna, or it was native to Texas. But anyway, every year I try out a new one, and that'll probably be the one that I had this year. Because in the world of vegetables, like there's a lot of hidden stuff, like ancients, like heirloom stuff, things that have been bred into other things. But the world of flowers is still so deep, and I love getting excited and finding new stuff. Like I didn't know that I would love the goblin Gaillardia, I think how you say it.
Ooh, Gaillardia is so good.
Yeah, and it's like self deadheading, and I never have to do anything. I just have it in a patch between my vegetable garden beds, and it just lives there now for 3 years. I just come through like once a year with a hedge trimmer, and I just like basically cut a huge chunk off of it, and then it comes back in full glory every single year. So I'm always like looking for these new varieties, and especially in the flower world. So I'm very
Yeah.
excited to see more of these kind of roll out as you talk about them.
I'd like to grow more sweet peas. I grew them heavily a few years ago. There's nothing like the smell of a sweet pea. Beautiful. Not this, not your sugar snap pea, but the flower. Yeah, they're totally different. You can't eat them at all,
No, no, no,
but they're
no. I think they're
so
toxic.
beautiful. Yeah. Are you talking about the guara? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, I think it is that. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, guara is beautiful, and it should be a perennial for you too.
I think so. If it's perennial in
Yeah.
Texas, then it should be here,
Yeah.
I
Oh my
think.
gosh.
But it looks
Guara
really cool.
is, oh, it looks so good. So I use it in a couple different ways. I use it in, like at the nursery, I'll plant like a 12-inch porch pot, and I'll put guara in the middle and then put like petunias and calabricoa around it because it acts as that height in the pot, and it just fills out the pot on top too. It doesn't say, it's not like one stalk. It gets pretty thick and goes up. But then like in the cut flower world, it also is great for bouquets. So they're multi-purpose. You can use them for landscape and for cut.
One flower that surprised me by being what you just described, which is just one stem and then it's like a couple flowers. Really beautiful, but if you don't plant it understanding the way that it grows, can be extremely underwhelming as well, was flax. Uh, First time I planted flax, I had like six little individual flax ones, and I just kind of like, oh, here's one. I'll put one over there. I'll put one over there. And it's just like, you get this like long, spindly stem with a bunch of beautiful flowers, but it doesn't like push out or anything. So it looked really silly, kind of like a couple little dangling flaxes randomly throughout my garden. So that's been another learning experience. Is sometimes I don't even like to read what it is. I'm just like, that looks cool. I want to grow it. I'm gonna just plant it and I'll figure it out. But that one was definitely a learning curve for sure.
I've made that mistake. Yeah, one year I was reading with my eyes, Jacques. Have you ever done
Ah,
that? I
yes,
read
yes,
with my
yes.
eyes and I saw
You
a
saw the
beautiful
words.
dahlia. Yes. There's no words. I'm ignoring the words and I'm just, wow, that's a beautiful dahlia. And I ordered it and I didn't read the fact that it was only a 12-inch landscape dahlia. And I planted it in my cut flower field.
You're like, why isn't it getting any bigger?
No, I'm like, what is wrong with this plant? It's not, there's no stem. It's just, I mean, it was beautiful and I dug it up and I was able to repurpose them elsewhere the next year. But yeah, they're not, yeah. Reading with your eyes is not always great.
No, I do that a lot. I have a lot of seeds where I'm like, why the heck do I have this? And then I must have read somewhere that it was like delicious. Oh, one example, for some reason, I love watermelon and I totally happy with a seeded melon. I don't need it to be seedless. But I saw in the catalog they had a seedless watermelon. I was like, it'd be kind of fun just to kind of grow it, just to see what that's like. Because the whole fact of something being seedless but also being ripe just sounds like
Yeah.
really weird. So I was just kind of curious to see what it would be like. Ordered the seed, and it came with like a 3-page document and then like a separate seed packet. And I was like, all right, so here you go. You want to grow a seedless watermelon? Well, make sure the soil is like 95 degrees, and you you want to plant it with like 3 offset, and then this extra seed packet is a pollinator melon that's only purpose is to help pollinate your seedless melons because they're not very good at pollinating themselves. And I was like, this whole instruction sheet and like the spacing, I was like, there's not a chance I'm growing this.
No, that's a science project.
Yeah, I was like, I don't need that to get a watermelon. I will just grow a regular, delicious heirloom watermelon and enjoy that instead.
What are your favorite watermelon varieties?
I love eating watermelon. Growing it has not been as successful in my garden as I'd like, primarily because I never respect it and I never give it the
Mhm.
space that it deserves. So I end up like
Yeah.
shoving it on like a corner of a bed in like a marginal spot where it barely gets any sun. I'm like, why does it look so sad? I'm like, well, because like it's fighting for its life in the shade here,
Yeah.
and there's no chance it's gonna get anything. But I have grown blacktail mountain watermelon before. I really like that one. That was really tasty. And then the orange glow, or I think it's spelled weird, but it was like orange something. Was also a really delicious, beautiful orange watermelon. And then some of the classics like Crimson Sweet have always, or like Bush Sugar Bush or Bush Baby, like the smaller ones. I mean, it's hard for me to not like a watermelon because they're just so dang delicious. But I also wish it was warmer here. One of the weird things, so I mentioned earlier, I have this long growing season, it doesn't really freeze, but it also doesn't really get that hot. So things that really need the heat to do well do not do well here. Like even okra is like a struggle for me to get any substantial amount of okra because it just does not get hot enough for those plants to thrive. So there might even be some like
What would
flowers.
you do you guys like study like in the 80s? Do you not get into the 90s at all?
So we will get into low 80s to mid 80s for a little chunk, but at night it always cools down. Rarely gets into the 90s where I'm at. If it does, it's like, yeah, I know. It's I'm like complaining about the least complainable thing in the world right now. It's like, oh, I can't grow okra because it doesn't get 100 degrees. But you know, but it's like one of these little like annoying things where I'm like, I wish I could grow everything. I could almost grow everything, and so it's like just me being greedy, really. But there's always the greenhouse to play with. I grew ginger in my greenhouse this year. I have like 2 massive, beautiful ginger plants in there that I need to harvest soon. But yeah, it's there's always like little things that are their own little challenges, even though the net is positive. But yeah, there's if there weren't challenges, it would get boring. Like you said, like if we didn't have too many things to worry about or too many things to do, then we would just get bored anyway, and then we'd look for some other way to make it complicated. Um, and luckily you chose a way of making it naturally complicated by being in a challenging space with a short season and adding on an extra farm. But
Yep.
it's working. It sounds like, and it's also sounds like it's still fun and exciting. And so I think that's like the important thing is that you're still enjoying the process of growing, producing vegetables and flowers, and bringing them to people.
Yes, that's what I'm doing right now. That's what during my downtime. Actually, my some of my vendors are because there's so many things you have to purchase for the nursery. There's just so many facets to it. So all my vendors are like, Nicole, Nicole, what do you get your orders in, get your orders in, get your orders in. And I'm overwhelmed with options. And
Uh,
sometimes it's a great thing, but when I have I mean, everyone's limited, whether it's your backyard garden and you only have one raised bed, or if you've got 50 raised beds, or if you have 7,500 square feet of greenhouse space, there are limitations to everything. So I have to choose like my hanging basket combinations because I can only grow about 1,400 hanging baskets. So I have to choose which ones I'm going to grow. And that's always the hardest for me. And then I have to pick out like what proven winners I want to offer to my customers, what petunias, what calibrachoa. So right now I'm placing all of those orders, and that's what I do in the it's usually done by now, let's be honest, but things have been crazy this year. But then I'll turn my attention to all the seed starting because as much as I do have to buy in for the greenhouse business, because that's just a commercial thing, that's just what happened. I grow as much as all of my vegetables that I sell here. I grow all those from seed. I grow a good amount. I have a large community that likes to grow their own cut flowers. So I do offer Lysianthus 6 packs and Snapdragon 6 packs for people to have their own little backyard bouquet garden. And all that stuff I grow from seed. And we turned my basement into this incredible seed space. I have a whole YouTube video on it. It's literally like 12 huge shelving units with just lights all over the place. There's plastic all over the walls. It's kind of a little bit intimidating to walk in my
Yeah.
basement, especially in March. In March, my house glows in March. It's not even a joke. You could see it from the highway. But yeah. So I just, this is the time of year where you just get excited about the possibilities and you're looking at the seed catalogs and you're looking like what botanicals got new seeds out. What are we growing? It's just an exciting time to organize, make plans, but also kind of reflect on the season that you just had and say, okay, well, that didn't work. What can we change? Or that worked really well. Let's make sure we get those seeds again. So it's a complicated system.
Yeah, I think all gardeners at home, myself included, would be much better off if we took better notes, or if we took any notes. Uh, I
Yeah.
make a bunch of mental notes that somehow disappear. I don't know where they went. But I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure I didn't want to grow this again, but I can't remember why. So then I'll grow it again and then I'll find out and then I'll get stuck in that vicious cycle. But I'm sure you could speak to this, but notes are your friend, and remembering things like that is very important. And I'm just curious, have you already ordered? So you've probably ordered a decent amount of your seeds for the year, I'm guessing, but not
I have
everything.
ordered
Like,
a decent amount.
yeah.
Yes. I'm
And then
not done.
so,
I'm never done.
yeah,
I'm never
no. Okay. So the same deal for you as anyone at home. But I'm sure you have like your core basics that you know you just need. You're going to grow every year. And then, like you mentioned, now you're trying to figure out those last little bits like, oh, I don't have anything in this color, or maybe I need some filler in this area, things like that, right?
That's exactly how it is. It's you're looking at like every customer is going to come in looking for a specific color or thinking, I was thinking about doing yellows and peaches this year in my garden. So you have to, okay, here's where my yellows are, here's where my peaches are. So it's kind of making sure I don't have too much of one color and I'm making sure I have a little bit of every color. But it's kind of hard in a small space, but I'll make it work. I'll make it work. And the best part about owning a greenhouse or a garden center is that whatever doesn't sell, I get to bring home.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Double dip.
So I ended up growing I think 800 tomatoes last year because we just kept I overdo it. I never know what people are going to come in and I never want to tell a customer I'm so sorry I'm out of beefsteak. I can't. Like I'm so sorry I don't have any more aromas for you. I hate that. So I grow way too much and then I just bring it home and make ketchup.
There you go. Yeah. Well, then you could sell your ketchup at the nursery maybe next year.
Yeah, we're getting a commercial kitchen license here. Yeah, that's part of the grant project. We're putting a little small cafe in here because, why not?
I mean, if you got so many tomatoes, you might as well use them. I am curious, what is your favorite color palette? Like in the garden, when you're thinking of flowers, I think everyone has, and you said one of the words that triggered my thought. Mine is orange and peachy colors. Anything in that kind of like creamy orange, anything orange spectrum, basically, I'm here for in my garden at all times. So that's kind of like my sucker color.
I have to say mine is very similar. I have um, I have a love for peach, white, and chartreuse together. So when
Oh,
you're making a bouquet and you have like a champagne or a salmon colored ranunculus with a white feverfew and then greenery, there's something about the apricot and orange, they kind of go kind of like these flowers
yeah, I was
behind
looking
me.
at those.
Yeah, so anything like that with not this color green because that's more of an olive tone, but like a chartreuse and white. Those three together are ridiculously romantic. It's just so pretty. But also, I love the dark colors in the fall. It's basically whatever flowers in front of my face is my favorite at the time. But every time I make something that has that apricot chartreuse white theme, that's when I kind of swoon over it.
Something about it feels right. Yeah. For me, it's like I look at in the summertime and like spring season, like there's a decent amount of color around because like even the tomatoes are colorful, the peppers are colorful. But when I get into this time of year, like the winter garden, um, it's a sea of brassica green. So it's like cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, green, 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 green. And so I'm always looking for something to break. And they're also like green blues. So it's like usually
Yes.
like a blue would stand out nicely in a green, but there's already a lot of that. So I think that's what's really drawn me towards like oranges is that especially this time of year, like I love not seeing a just sea of green. I want to see a little bit of color contrast. And so I have orange dotted all throughout. I'm looking at some orange nasturtium, some Mexican sunflower, some calendula, the blanket flower, and they're kind of helping just to me, I just need to break up that visual. And so I've really been drawn to oranges.
I did in my trellises this year, I put one yellow thumbergia, like a black-eyed Susan vine, at the base of every one of my trellises because those are beans and or peas or whatever. I grow a lot of the cucamelons on trellises.
Oh,
So
nice.
because so those are all naturally green, like you said, but that one, and I'm gonna do an orange thumbergia this year. But that one thumbergia, and I planted it late. It was probably July. I took it home because it didn't sell. Taking it home earlier next year so I can get ahead. But that one yellow thumbergia, but even by the time just planting it in July, it was 5 feet up the trellis and just sprinkling beautiful yellow flowers over the whole thing. And I used to do that long time ago with morning glories on my pea trellises. I used to grow like the bamboo teepees with peas, and I'd put a morning glory on every like third one, and the whole entire thing would be covered in the blue morning glory, and that was beautiful.
Yeah, that's a smart idea is to break up your regular vegetable trellis planting with a trellising flower. I love that. I'm gonna try that this year.
Oh, the only thing that's green in my garden right now are, well, like you said, the calendula. My calendula, we've had it down to about
Oh, it's
23
still
degrees
going.
so far. Yeah, the calendula is still green. And then my cilantro and my sage and my mint. Those are the only things that look good. The tops of the cilantro, they died. But so I have them in a medium tall raised birdie bed. And I didn't fill it all the way.
Yeah, it's like it's got
So
that little
yeah,
subtle
there's like
gap.
a
Yeah,
10
yeah, yeah.
inch down. And so the sage and cilantro are protected that just that little bit extra from that depths inside the birdie bed. So and the sage will always do well in the cold, but the cilantro, I've never had cilantro last into November, and I'm excited about it. I actually cut some sage yesterday for my butternut squash soup. It's delicious.
Nice.
But yeah, everything else is dead and brown. So I'm jealous
Yeah.
of your oranges right now.
Yeah. No, it is great. But I think it's important for just for everyone's own benefit is to think of like breaking up their visual continuity in their garden. And like whenever you have too much of something, just throw any amount of color in there. Even if you haven't tried growing a flower before, it's always really fun. Things love visiting it, whether it's bees, beneficial wasps, little insects, flies, beautiful birds, like everything in between. The garden is just way more alive and full when there are flowers in it. And I'm always a little bit sad when I only see rows of vegetables. So just want to speak out for everyone. Please mix a little bit of flowers into your vegetable garden. You will be very happy for it.
I support that. It's very inviting.
Exactly, exactly. Inviting to everyone, people and animals alike. Who doesn't like a good flower? But yeah, it's been really fun chatting with you today. And I'm actually very excited for this new podcast, The Botanical Interest, one that you're going to be leading up because there are so many interesting stories in the world of seed. Whether it's like you mentioned, the first episode on tomatoes, I'm definitely tuning in to hear the history of these plants and how they became what they are today and why people like them. I'm also just excited to learn a lot of new things, especially as you dive into some of these flower territories that I'm just not that familiar with. So yeah, thank you for coming on and chatting today. And I encourage everyone to go listen. Nicole Pitt, Flower Hill Farm, New York. And what is the name of the podcast?
It is in the garden with Flower Hill Farm, and I
There you go.
believe we're launching very soon.
Awesome. Well, check it out, guys. Check out Nicole. She has a very interesting story, as you guys have heard, and her farm updates are a lot of fun. And just to see the nursery, I'm excited to see it grow and see what you do with it this year, because it sounds like every year you're adding on some sort of new project to keep yourself busy.
It's never ending.
All right. Well, I'll see you around, and maybe when I visit New York, I'll have to stop by and check out the flower farm in all its glory with all the flowers cut. But thanks for stopping on today.
Thank you.